My last season at Manchester City, it was the first season of Pep Guardiola. And of course, from 9 years I've been playing with Manchester City, it was the moment that my role into the team changed completely. I'm Pablo Zabaleta, and I'm going to talk about defensive and offensive principle of being a fullback during my time at Manchester City and West Ham. Being a fullback is something that is very demanding in terms of physicality. It's a position that you have to run up and down during 90 minutes down the flank. And as I say, you have to be very good at solid at defensive phase. Normally, because you play against fast wingers, they have a great ability, and you have to be really good at one-on-one situations. But then also you have to be able to support the attack to make that overlapping or underlapping runs. Sometimes, especially when you face teams that they are very low block, and you have to be able to offer your teammates another option from wide areas. Defensively, you will face a lot of good players, and you have to be solid. You will find yourself as a fullback many times going on one-on-one situations. For me, always something very important as a fullback to stay always very close to the winger, not let them space or 2-3 meters to run at you, because they normally are very good. And when you face that situation that they're coming at you, you might struggle. So basically, when the ball was going to the winger, I was always very close to him, not to allow to run, or especially if he makes that runs in behind, to be able to make that diagonally run to close the space. So once that you are in a one-on-one situations, it is very important to see if he's right-footed or left-footed. Many times, or with many players or wingers, they like to cut inside to come into this situation to have a shoot themselves, or even to have an inverted cross. Sometimes when they are left-footed, they normally go to the wide area. So it's massively important to avoid any kind of crosses or cutbacks. So this is, for me, as a fullback, very, very important. Even communication with your center back or one of the midfielders, always to come and to support you, to double up here in that situation, to force the winger to play the ball back. And also, in case of losing that one-on-one, if he beat you, at least you have the center back ready to go there and the midfielder to go in the inside position. But that's why, for me, creating that situation 2v1, it was something, communication between fullback, center back, and defensive midfielder to protect very well that situation. During my time at Manchester City, I had coaches with very similar philosophy regarding the fullback position. Roberto Mancini. He used to play with players that they were not proper wingers. They were more attacking midfielders. That was David Silva in that position, and Sami Nasri. In here with two strikers, Edin Dzeko, Tevez, or Agüero, whatever. But what was the main reason of having a player that normally was really good at playing in between lines? That was, for me, always a very good chance to attack always that wide area. David Silva was the ball coming from that side, let's say, from the midfielders. He was always coming to that position where normally the fullbacks was making that movement here to press David Silva. So the space was there. For me, it was not important to be already there. For me, that position of the fullback, just waiting for that ball coming from the opposite side to those players, is where you need to attack into the space to have more option. So there, David Silva can set the ball for the midfielder and then play the ball in behind, and there is the right moment for the fullback to attack. Normally, and I face many players, wingers, that they are very good going forward, but sometimes they're a bit lazy at tracking back the fullback, right? So the only reason that sometimes is a bit risk when you are there, if losing that ball, right, maybe that player could be free. But of course, we were Man City, we were a dominating team, or almost in 80%, 85% of the games. And it was very important for us to attack with at least 7 players. And as I say, Mancini was a coach that was all the time telling me to go and attack, to support attack, to get there. And of course, once you get into that position to the byline, we used to have a good number inside the box, right? So it was very, very important for me getting into those situations, always to have 1 or 2 seconds to open up, look at the players that were in the box, and always to finish with a low cross. For me, getting to that position here, for me, a good low cross or even a cut back from here. Normally defenders, they cover the 6-yard box, right? But that movement of the players, of one of the midfielder coming back, that for me was very important. I remember having Edin Dzeko, Tevez, Agüero, even only Edin Dzeko was really good in the air by having crosses, but I think as a fullback, you can put a high cross if you get here. But obviously getting into those situations, probably was better to find some of the players from that second line. At Manchester City, I've been working under Manuel Pellegrini. We were a very good team in possession. He used to play with 4 at the back, with 2 midfielders and 2 strikers and 2 attacking midfield. It was like 4-2-2-2 basically, where it was Kolarov on the left and myself on the right. And we used to provide the width all the time into those channels here, because more or less it was very similar to the team that Mancini left with Yaya, Fernandinho, and again, it was Negredo, that season was really good, and Sergio Agüero. So he wanted both fullbacks from the right side and the left side all the time to support attack, to push forward. And very similar to Mancini, it was David Silva here and Sami Nasri. They both were playing in the half spaces. The only difference that sometimes it was Jesus Navas playing as a winger on the right side, okay? So for me, I needed to adapt into the player that I had in front of me, right? So when David Silva was playing in that side, again, for me, it was that space all the time to attack and to appear into the space, right? But when it was Jesus Navas, for me, that was different because of his way of playing. He was always waiting the ball to go one-on-one situation with the opposition fullback, right? Most of the time, Jesus was a player that when he was attacking, he was going into his right. He had very good cross. For me as a fullback, it was massively important to understand Jesus Navas and leave him as much as I can possible to go on him one-on-one. And I needed to be just in behind him to give enough deduction in case he couldn't go against the fullback. As a fullback, sometimes you have to read a situation where probably that's not the time to attack, but to give him support from behind, okay? Maybe he can play the ball back to me and we can switch or go to the other side. So with Jesus was a bit different. Obviously, always it was the chance for me not to go in overlapping, right? So I needed probably to look into those spaces between the center back and the full back, and Jesus to play mid that ball, okay? So it's always very important as a full back, always to read the situation and to have a very good connection and a very good understanding with the winger, because depending of the movement of the wingers is where you have to make your movement. My last season at Manchester City, it was the first season of Pep Guardiola. And of course, from 9 years I've been playing with Manchester City. Regarding my position as a fullback, it was the moment that my role into the team changed completely. He came with the concept of the inverted fullback, something that for me it was new. And with Pep, I will never forget having a conversation with him when he came to the club, because he was doing it with Philipp Lahm at Bayern Munich, his previous year coming to the club. He explained a little bit what was the reason for him to bring the fullback inside. Playing now from the back, that was something very important for Pep. The reason of the fullback coming inside, right? It was always to create the 3+2, right? To have an extra man in midfield. Pep, with the difference of Mancini and Pellegrini, he was using proper wingers, very wide all the time. They could pin the fullback, okay? So normally all the time as a fullback, receiving the ball from the center back, you open up the control here and you have the view basically of the whole pitch. And then you have the chance to play to the midfielder or even to some long ball for the striker. If you cannot progress because you have the winger in front of you, you can play the ball back to the center back and then switch side. But coming into midfield, into inside position, he changed completely the body shape of the player, how you need to control more stuff in terms of when you're receiving the ball from one of the center back, okay? You have to be in a position where you have to be here to create that passing line in between these two players, or even if the center back got ball here, if he jumps, you have to be also in between two to receive and then turn and go to the attacking phase. What was difficult at the beginning, that sometimes you have the pressure of that midfielder, right? So if you're not in the right position or scanning all the time what's going on in behind you, you can receive that ball from the center back, and if you turn and you lose that ball, then it's a quick counter-attack and it's very dangerous to lose the ball in here. So that's why it was, for me, all the time, very, very important to be in a good position, always to give an option to these three players, right? Okay, if that was a winger and the ball was to that center back, to be here. Then if he closed the line, I could move into that space. If not, one of the attacking midfielders to get into those possessions. Okay, even sometimes to the winger. So he could play that ball to the winger and then to make that run to the attacking midfielder from inside to outside. That was something new for me. I have to say that it was incredible. Pep, I think he's one of those managers that sometimes brings new ideas into the world of football, and then when you are in the game or playing, you could see it's really happening in the game. So that's why he really convinced the players to do this kind of job. Pep was saying to me, I don't want you to be out wide here. I want you to be here, because of the ability of the winger and the attacking midfielders normally are much better than the fullback, right? So what I needed to do is just see if I could pass the ball, that diagonal pass to the winger to go one-on-one, okay? Then was the attacking midfielder making that run in behind. Then sometimes if I could play that through ball to the attacking midfielder, here was Gundogan, Kevin De Bruyne operating in those spaces. I only needed to look to the best option. If the winger was closing inside, the option was outside. If there were a bit of room, of space to play that through ball, it was even perfect. So why for me it was very good at that time to play in that role, in that position, because for me it was so much better to control the winger. So after the team was losing the ball or giving the ball away, if they wanted to connect to the winger, I was already there quickly and very close to him to press and avoid any kind of counterattack. Teams, when they defend in a very low block, then they have very good, so most of them, they have so much space to go forward. And if you are high up the pitch, then you have to be very, very quickly to track back, and probably sometimes you don't get into those possessions. When I left Manchester City, I signed for West Ham United Football Club. I went from being playing with one of the best teams in the world in terms of having fantastic players, a team that could control 90-95% of the game. At West Ham, it was a team that it was more physically stronger than Manchester City, with different type of players. I always laugh a little bit about it because I was 34 years old and I was talking about getting into the position of the inside and probably not running down the flank all the time. We used to play with five at the back at West Ham. So I was playing as a wingback. The Premier League is very demanding, the rhythm, the physicality and all that. But listen, sometimes I always say that age is just a number. If you have passion, if you want to do the best for the team, you always need to do what the manager needs for the team and what the team needs from you. So rather than obviously playing as in that position that we have seen as Piliqueta also coming and playing here. At that time, it was Fonte, Portuguese player, that it was playing here. So I was operating as a wingback. The good thing is sometimes defensively, you are very well protected in terms of sometimes you defend like this and you have always that right centre back that can cover your back. But then obviously, when you are in the attacking phase, you definitely need to go all the time very high. And then when the cross, let's say, come from that side, from the opposite wing back, you have to get into the far post. You are almost like a winger in the attacking phase. So I was always there waiting for the cross because obviously one-on-one for me, that was no, I didn't have the ability to play against their fullback one-on-one. For me, it was all the time looking to play maybe 1-2, because probably I was even better at doing this, 1-2, then going to attack, or probably letting one of the strikers always to attack and coming into the situation here. But of course, that's why as a wingback is even more demanding as a fullback, because sometimes in a back four you can control yourself a bit more, be more, let's say, conservative. But as a wingback, you definitely need to support the attack all the time. So my first season, Slaven Bilic and David Moyes at West Ham, I've been having the experience of what it means being as a wingback. So basically, I've been playing with a back four, back three as a wingback, being the fifth in that position. And that was all my experience as a footballer in England.